Being able to pay for a home just keeps getting harder and harder for first-time buyers. According to the National Association of Realtors, the average age of first-time home buyers in this country is now 40. That's the highest on record. And with tight inventory and stubbornly high interest rates, it might seem like a distant dream for many. But one stockbroker says patience could pay off.
For most young people, renting is the best option because for now, homes are just too expensive. But if they wait it out and the government stays out of it, real estate prices are going to come way down, just the way they did, 2007, 8, 9. Prices will come down, and that will help solve the problem.
Fox News contributor Katrina Campens is here to weigh in. Katrina, do you agree with that waiting might be the best strategy right now?
Absolutely not. And I truly believe if anyone can lead America out of the housing affordability crisis, it's Trump. Because solving complex real estate challenges is exactly how he built his reputation and his brand. It's the foundation of his success as one of the most powerful businessmen in the world. And it's ultimately how he became the president of the United States. Housing affordability in America has reached a breaking point, and the numbers make it impossible to ignore. What used to be a pivotal part of achieving the American dream has now become something that people are pushing further and further into their lives. But I don't necessarily think that waiting, as the gentleman mentioned, is going to help. The median age of a first-time home buyer is now 40 years old, the oldest it has ever been, meaning Americans are entering the housing market a full decade later than previous generations. And the longer people wait, the harder it becomes to build wealth, generational wealth, especially as prices continue to run ahead of income. Today, the national median home price sits well above $400,000, nearly 5 times the median household income, creating a gap that is simply it's not sustainable. At the core of the crisis is a massive supply shortage. Years of underbuilding have left America short nearly 4 million homes, and limited inventory pushes prices higher long before interest rates even come into play. With rates still elevated, even a modest home can come with a monthly payment that stretches families to the limit. It's no surprise that first-time homebuyers now represent just 21% of all home purchases, the lowest share ever recorded. And while the Trump administration has already put forward ideas to expand financing options and reduce upfront costs, even they've acknowledged that Washington can only do so much when the biggest barriers are local. Zoning restrictions, permitting delays, layers and layers of red tape, slow construction, and increased costs before a single foundation is poured. We can't fix affordability without dramatically accelerating building. Layered on top of this, the cost of living has become completely bifurcated. Red states are more affordable and blue states are more expensive. You don't need an economist to point that out.
I want to put on screen the average age of the first-time home buyers. Only 4% are in the 18 to 24-year-old bracket. As we mentioned earlier, the median age for a first-time home buyer now is 40. So as you say, the first-time home buyers are getting older. The president has been pushing Jerome Powell to reduce interest rates. Is that going to be the trick? Is that going to be the magic bullet?
I think that's part of the component, but it's definitely multifaceted. We need people to come together, and we need the federal, local, and city governments to unite. We also have to do something about high insurance, high taxes, property taxes continue to rise, and the high cost of blue states for places where families can actually afford a home, raise kids, and build a future. It's one of the clearest signals in our economy, people moving from blue states to red states, and some leaders still pretend not to see it. But the problem doesn't end once someone finally manages to purchase a home. These property taxes and insurance have become a major affordability killer. Insurance premiums alone are up 11% in the last year and nearly 70% over the last 5 years. That's a huge number, with some states seeing costs double or triple. In many areas, taxes and insurance together can rival or even exceed a family's monthly mortgage payment. Home ownership shouldn't feel like a financial trap, yet that's the reality for millions. So the path forward requires coordinated action, cutting red tape, speeding up approvals, increasing supply, lowering borrowing costs, expanding safe financial tools, and tackling the escalating burden of taxes and insurance. Because without all of these working together, affordability won't improve no matter what happens with interest rates.
But isn't part
and
of the
I
problem?
do have hopes.
Well, isn't part of the problem that rates were so low after the financial crash in 2007, 2008? Rates effectively went to zero. And, you know, a lot of people bought houses then between 2008, 2015. And now they're sitting on those houses and they don't want to sell them because they can't get that kind of a rate again.
Absolutely. They're sitting on 2 or 3%, and you're not going to trade that up for 6 or 7%. And even though historically speaking, people argue interest rates are still relatively low, you can't convince somebody that has a 2 or 3% to move. Now, President Trump and his administration just proposed the portable mortgage idea, which I absolutely love. I like that idea better than the 50-year mortgage. I don't think that it's going to be very easy to execute because there's so much that has to happen with banks approving and lenders and so forth. But can you imagine if you have a 2 or 3% and you can take that mortgage with you? All of a sudden, you're retired, you have a 5-bedroom home, you can sell and buy something smaller and then open up that inventory for a growing family. So I think the portable mortgage idea, if executed properly, can definitely be one of the tools that Americans can use to be able to build generational wealth and relocate as needed. I do also believe that assumable mortgages are something that the White House has potentially, mentioned that they're going to introduce. And I think that would also change things. It's going to take so many different things, but what's really important is that it all has to be done together. That's why that article in the New York Post that came out last week about a Marshall Plan, I actually think that's a great idea. Let's just get it over with and get it done and declare, if we have to declare a housing emergency, do it. And who better to lead the charge than President Trump?
Yeah, people buy a house and they start buying shower curtains and silverware and all kinds of things to put in it, and that's really going to fuel the economy. Fox News contributor Katrina Campens, thank you.
Thanks so much for having me today.
You bet.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.